Hi everyone, I'm Ethan, and welcome back to the MoreLogin automation course. By this point in the series, we've already built a simple RPA workflow. In today's video, instead of building something new, we'll slow down and walk through the specific nodes already on the canvas so you can understand what each step is actually doing and how to configure it. At the top is the initialization step, which we explained in the last video. So, let's start with Find Element. This node is used when the workflow needs to identify a target in the current view tree before doing anything else. Depending on the use case, that may mean locating a button, checking whether an element exists, or returning the element itself so a later step can use it. The most important part of the configuration is when condition is met. This is where we define what the workflow should look for: text, full-id, class, or desk. Then choose the match condition, and finally enter the value you want to match. If one condition is not enough, you can add more with and to make the search more precise. Below that, Find Hidden Elements controls whether the node should also search elements that are not visibly exposed on the screen. Then you decide what happens if more than one object matches. You can return a single element, or in other cases, work with multiple matches. If you choose a single element, you also specify which element to select. After that, timeout for waiting for an element to appear tells the workflow how long to keep polling before moving on. And delay after finding element lets you add a pause after the target is found. In this workflow, we use full-id equals to target the desktop search widget shown on screen. We leave Find Hidden Elements off because the target is visible. We choose Get Single Element, select the first match, set the timeout to 3 seconds, and leave the delay at 0. Test it, it returns the element it found. That output is important because the next step can reuse that element directly instead of searching for the same target all over again. And outside this workflow, the same node can also be used to check whether something exists or to pass an element into later processing steps. Next is Tap Element. In general, this is the node you use when your workflow needs to perform a click on a UI tree element. So, once the workflow knows what the target is, Tap Element is one of the most common ways to actually interact with it. Here, we can choose how the node selects the target. MoreLogin provides us two selector types. You can either choose by Find Element, which means Tap Element performs its own matching again using selector conditions, or use Previous Element, which means it directly reuses an element returned by an earlier node. Then you choose the tap type. That can be single tap, double tap, or long press. If you use long press, you can also define the press duration. Finally, delay after tap controls whether the workflow should pause after the click before continuing. In this workflow, we choose Use Previous Element, and the referenced value is the result returned by the Find Element step above. That makes sense here, because the previous node has already identified the correct search widget for us. Then we use Single Tap, because we just want to open the search area, and we leave delay after tap at 0 so the flow can continue immediately. This is a useful pattern. If a previous node has already done the targeting work, reusing that result can make the workflow cleaner than searching again. Then let's look at input text. In general, this is the node you use when a workflow needs to send characters into a text field. That may be a search bar, a login field, a comment box, or any other editable input area. The first important field here is still selector type. Just like other nodes, you can either locate the target through by Find Element or continue from a previously selected element. Then Input Field Timeout controls how long the workflow waits for that field to appear. Then under is Input Text, you define what content should actually be typed. That can be fixed text, or it can come from a variable or initialization parameter. After that, clear field before typing controls whether existing text should be removed first. And press Enter after input controls whether the workflow should trigger an enter action immediately after the text is entered. Here, we choose by Find Element, That's because the thing we tapped in the previous step is not exactly the same as the actual editable text field. So this node performs a new lookup using the full ID of the search input field shown on screen. Then 3 seconds to wait. Initialization text. Clear field before typing. And press enter after input. So we can see it search the text we define. And at the end, we use stop to mark a clean endpoint for the workflow. And that's all from this video. You should not think of these nodes as just steps in one example. You should think of them as tools. Find element helps you identify targets, tap element helps you interact with them, and input text helps you send dynamic content into editable fields. Once you understand what each node solves and how its key settings work, you can start combining them in your own workflows. In the next lesson, we'll continue with more simulation operations nodes and look at other ways a workflow can interact with the screen in more complex situations. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next course.